Alright, so you've considered being a Jedi, but you're not really sure if it mixes with your religion. Most of the people that have this question are Christians. For the record, as a well-known Christian Jedi myself, the the path is a little bit difficult to determine whether or not you're going to stay on it. This question surfaced recently at Real Jedi Knights. If you want to see that order, it's jediknights.b1.jsync, CINK.com. You can go there and learn more about that order. It was brought up by Ryan Shane, and this is just something that I've seen a few times in the community, so I'm going to take the opportunity to answer it. Those of you who are Christian, you're looking at this, you're like, how on earth can you be a Christian and a Jedi? Okay, well, first question is, how exactly do you identify the Force? For some of us, we identify it as something very scientific, and that's actually how I see it. It is very scientific. I take it from the point of view that the scientific community takes it, and I call it energy. It's just a broad term. If you've watched any of my videos, you know it's just a broad term for what different people call it. Some people that are in the Christian community look at it as the Holy Spirit, and others might look at it as something that's completely out, out in another portion of how they look at it, and I'll get into that here in a moment. So, for example, like I said, I see it as energy. To me, it means that the Force has no will of its own, and it is a creation of God's works in the universe. If you take it as kind of how we use the internet, you could say that our souls are basically like the human interface there. We kind of look at we use the human body as sort of like a robot, and I know this is a really, really terrible analogy, but just run with it so that maybe you can somewhat understand how I'm trying to communicate how I see it to you. So anyways, the idea is that it's energy, and if you look at it kind of like what we're doing right now is kind of in a Tron world, then you can kind of see that as this is a simulation. Our souls are interfacing with the human body, and from there we're going to use it like an internet service, sort of. So in other words, you could say that God is using the energy as a way to communicate His will, and that might be seen as the will of the Force. And that's how we communicate also. We connect with people metaphysically in some respects and whatnot. If you, hopefully you understand that. If you don't, please ask, and I'll clarify that a little bit more in another video. But just post down in the comments, and I'll go into that. That said, some Christians reach a point where they have come to understand that the Force is a distraction from their service to God, which is understandable. They come to view in a new term. They come to view it as a new term to describe what pagans see as magic. I'm not actually sure if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I pronounce it. It's like magic with a K that discerns the difference between parlor tricks and actual energy that's used by pagans to perform spell work and communicate with the gods and the goddesses. And as this realm is dominated, the magic realm is dominated by spirits, demons, and what have you. If you read the Witch of Endor in the book of Samuel, you'll see exactly why such distractions become a problem. It's not just because God forbids His children from seeking counsel from mediums that creates a problem. That is a problem. Don't get me wrong. That is totally a problem. But there's more to it than just that. God also forbids that, at least in my belief, because those things distract from how you perceive how you work with God. They can tell you one thing, and then really that's not really how it works, and then they just lead you down the wrong path, and yeah, you fall victim to the information that they're giving you. So for an example, when Saul went to the Witch of Endor, part of what he was told was, okay, you fell from grace from God, and now you're going to die. Well, instead of working on trying to amend his problems with God, he just kind of let it fall to the wayside, and then it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, is it true that he completely fell from God's grace? It might be. And he might not have ever been able to fix that, just because of who he was. And if you look at Saul's life, you can see why I say that. But it doesn't mean that he couldn't have tried. He couldn't have worked on trying to re-amend what that is. To me, you can never fall from grace. You can always try to amend your problems with God. Of course, Saul also predated Christ. So if you look at it from the Old Testament, you couldn't really be saved, and then in the New Testament, because of Christ, you could be saved. You could look at it like that. But for argument's sake, the way I see it is that he got to a point where, because he listened to this medium, the Witch of Endor, the familiar spirit that had latched on to him, latched onto her, told him that he couldn't ever fix his problem, pretty much, and he believed that, and so he fell from God's graces completely. Didn't even try to amend it, because he was just like, you know what, I'm done. Apparently, I can never fix my problem, so I'm just going to wallow in my own, and I'm just going to die, like the medium told me. So he basically fell victim to his own self-fulfilling prophecy that the medium gave him. And then this really is where it becomes difficult for someone following the Jedi path, because there's a great deal of mysticism involved in it, the idea. Some people, they look at it and they try to cultivate things like there is a member in the community who is very much about learning how to use the uh, the focus that you have for telekinesis to evolve yourself metaphysically and spiritually. And for her, that's a great thing. If you're interested in looking into how she teaches that course, let me know. I'll send you a link to her page on Facebook, as far as like where she and how she where she teaches her classes, because she does teach them through Facebook and other different mediums. I'll see if I can't link you to her, get you guys in contact with her. But and then you have other things like Reiki. Some people do Reiki. In fact, Eric Hoymer, which is a member of, or has been a member off and on with my own order, Force Academy, is very much into the Reiki thing, and he has tried on multiple occasions to teach it, as well as another member of the community named Michael Hannigan. They can take you through that and teach you how to do that, or you could go to an accredited college that teaches it as well. Point is that there are a lot of different things, and you can get in communication with a lot of different spirits, so to speak. And in some cases, this can be very dangerous, especially if you don't have the discernment of spirits, which is talked about later on in the Bible with different spiritual gifts that people have. And even at that, some can perform miracles, and that might be something that you find that you can do through Reiki. Various different stories about that behind it. I'm not really sure which ones are the truth on there, but there is at least one story where it talks about the guy who founded that was Christian, and he was asked by some students whether or not he believed in that, and then he went on to, I think it was like Mount Karuma, and found himself finding how Christ did those same things. So, variety of different stories out there. I'm not going to confirm or deny which ones are true, because I don't actually know. Other people can tell you better, because Reiki's just not my thing. But yeah. But anyways, the point is that there are different things that you can do, and the Bible speaks of different ways that you can use mysticism, such as performing miracles, a discernment of spirits, the speaking of tongues, which, depending on how you look at that could mean that you speak different languages, such as Spanish, Japanese, Arabic, and so forth. Or you could speak in a different language that is considered angelic, and that might be called, in some circles, it's called glossolalia. You can look that up on YouTube. I'm not even going to try to, or not YouTube, Wikipedia. I'm not even going to try to explain what glossolalia is. But these different things that you can do as spiritual gifts, which give back to the Jedi, or to the church itself, spoken of in the Bible, are all part of things that you can cultivate as a Jedi. Um, and, you know, hey, you might talk to a spirit that says it's angelic. Well, okay, but Lucifer was considered angelic also, so they could technically be telling the truth that they're from angelic origins, but they aren't actually angelic, they're demonic. You get where I'm going with this, I hope. Um, and there is proof that angels have spoken to God's children. I mean, just, you don't have to look any further than God's conception. Angel came down, said, "Hey, Mary, you're pregnant," and she's like, "But I'm a virgin." Okay, how am I pregnant? So you see, there are stories in the Bible that suggest that you can talk to angels. Problem is, you've really got to ask yourself, one, what do you believe the force is? If you come to a conclusion, and some people have, even through Jedi training, they started out with, okay, the Force is not something evil. It's how I see it, which is very energetic, as far as science goes. Or in some cases, they've come to see it as magic that the pagans use, and it's a completely different force. The second question you have to answer is whether or not that detracts from you being a Christian. Does it detract from you being actually a servant to God? This question can also be asked of people that are not seeking a paganist or seeking Christian Abrahamic beliefs. For example, if you're pagan and you are looking to see how that works, it might detract from your deity. And that's something you have to answer for yourself. Is this detracting from my path? From me actually being a servant to my deity? And then from there, you can decide whether or not it goes completely against your belief system. And some Christians do find that it is. Some Christians don't. That's where you get people like me. But we're not going to get on to you about not working on being a person or working on being a Jedi. That's something that's between you and your God. You and even if you don't have a God. If you're agnostic, maybe you come to a point where you just don't believe in what the path is itself. These are questions you need to ask yourself. Is it right for me? Hopefully you come to an answer that will help you find your right path. This has been another Force Realist episode with Knights of Awakening, and we hope that you awaken the night within.